Mike Tomlin steps down after 19 seasons, officially steps down. I continue on to say the words step down as the word
Important.
because it's important. He was not fired. He did not retire. He stepped down, meaning the Steelers will still hold his coaching rights, meaning that if he decides to coach somewhere else, he'll have to be traded, kind of like what the Sean Payton's kind of scenario was a while ago between the Saints and the Broncos. But it sounds like he's going to be maybe taking a year off, maybe go try out TV for a little bit. Jimmy Johnson wasn't replaced on Fox Sunday. If he seems like the perfect fit for that one, I don't know if he goes and fills Matt Ryan's shoes on NFL Today. That you'd have Cower and Tomlin on the same show. That'd be funny. But overall, Mike Tomlin stepping away after 19 years. The Steelers are going to be looking for their fourth coach since the Beatles broke up. How about that? 1969.
That is amazing. That's a great pull from that year. It is crazy to think that Tomlin's not going to be the head coach out in Pittsburgh anymore. I mean, like you said, that's just kind of what Pittsburgh has been known for, is keeping these coaches around forever. I don't remember the Steelers with any other head coach. And the fact that it happened in the same year as John Harbaugh, too, just has this weird kind of vibe to it. The AFC North is going to feel very, very different next year. I'm excited to see, if Tomlin does end up in TV or media or whatever you want to call it, where he ends up and what he kind of specializes in, or if there is anything in particular. But he's given us some unbelievable media moments over the last few years. I mean, if you go to basically any comment section on just about any video on the entire internet, no matter what it's about, you have about a 50% chance of finding a Mike Tomlin gif in there. I mean, the guy just is so versatile. Whatever the case is, walking away from the podium looking like, really? Or is that what we're doing here? Like, he's so comedic. So I think him being on TV is absolutely the right play. And if he steps back into coaching, he'll do great there as well. But very excited about what the future of Mike Tomlin looks like. The Steelers, on the other hand, I don't know if I have the same amount of optimism.
Yeah, I want to get to that Steelers roster and the outlook and the future of them, but did you expect heading into this season, if I would have told you that the AFC North at the end of the year will lose 3 of its coaches, would you guess that the only one remaining was the Bengals, Zach Taylor? Would that be the one that you guessed? Because I would not.
That would have been the one probably what I would have started with. Maybe Stefanski, to be honest. Like, he would have been 1A, 1B, but yeah, it would have absolutely been who didn't get fired between Tomlin and Harbaugh. Like, that's the only way that I think it makes sense, because Taylor has been, it feels like, on the hot seat for the last 3 or 4 years, and he's the only one remaining. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, to me, it's shocking for sure, and I wonder how long that'll last. And it's crazy to know that he's the highest tenured coach in the AFC North now. Now that Tomlin and Harbaugh are out of it, Andy Reid sits as the highest tenured coach. Second place, Sean McDermott for the Bills and Sean McVay of the Rams, and they're separated by only 1 day. So basically, they're tied for second when it comes to most tenured coaches in the NFL. As for those Steelers, talking about them, what direction do they go in now? Because it's an interesting direction. It's the brand new team. Basically, you're going to have to replace your quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, this is more likely than not that he's not returning, that he's retiring, especially with this Mike Tomlin news.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're not going to bring in a young coach to try and rebuild this team and be like, oh, by the way, there's a quarterback double your age head coach, and we're going to keep him in. Like, he's probably done, right?
Yeah.
The case. And if he does return to football, it's probably not with the Steelers. So I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers is done. So what is the direction that Pittsburgh takes? They have a decent young core on the defensive side. Obviously, TJ Watt getting a little older. Cam Hayward's probably on his way out the door as well. There's a lot of question marks for Pittsburgh. I guess the first thing I have to ask is the quarterback question. Like Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, those are your quarterbacks on the roster right now. Is the future quarterback of this team on the roster?
Yeah, that's the first place you got to start, I think, is the most important position in football, the quarterback. And I think if you're the Steelers here, you end up going with somebody in this draft potentially, or basically taking a tank year and using one of these guys on the roster right now as a Band-Aid, and not tanking necessarily, but not spending a ton of money to win this year and then ending up with some solid draft picks next season. Maybe you trade a few picks or a few players for some capital in next year's draft, whatever it is. I think you go through the draft. Honestly, I think there are some really talented players. And I don't know if Arch will be like the answer if you go down to Arch, but I think you have to go through the draft if you're Pittsburgh. We laid it out, I believe it was yesterday, all of the quarterbacks that could take over for Aaron Rodgers that are currently in the league, and the list just isn't there. And I would almost argue too that the Steelers aren't in a position to go out and spend, $85 million on a quarterback and then be in, like, they're just not a quarterback away is how I view it. So I think if you're Pittsburgh, you have to be okay with taking a few years here. Now, of course, quick turnarounds happen. Sometimes it's like, oh, this was supposed to be a rebuild year for them, and they ended up just outperforming expectations. That's absolutely something that happens. But I think that the reasonable trajectory is take a year. You're probably not going to get anywhere. Build up through the draft this year, next year, get a few young core pieces. Like you said, they already have some on roster. And then go from there, and they can be a problem in like 2028, 2029 is how I view it.
A few years is not something that Pittsburgh fans are used to. Their last losing season, 2003, they finished 6-10, and they've been nowhere near the number 1 overall pick. They've been nowhere near tanking in more than 3 decades. And this is a team that has a lot of respect. This is a team that has a lot of pedigree, a lot of fandom. The fact that they didn't even play Renegade during the playoff game was something to talk about. If they start losing and they become one of the worst teams in football, it makes you wonder what type of fandom comes out with these Pittsburgh Steelers. When you talk about saying it's going to take them a few years, I don't know if they have it in them to be able to say, you know what, let's rebuild for a few years and get it back. Is it the right idea? Yes. In the long term, is it the right answer? Yes. But do they have that in them? Again, we're talking 23 years since their last losing season between Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, who Mike Tomlin was 19 seasons, never a losing season. You're losing a coach who is stepping away, might I add, not retiring, not fired.
Which is good for Steelers fans.
Good for the Steelers. If Tomlin decides to come back to coaching, that will not probably impact them until next year's draft in 2027. And let's keep this real as well. This isn't a first overall pick that'll be traded for Mike Tomlin, right? This is probably like a mid-round pick, 3rd or 4th round kind of thing. This is Mike Tomlin deciding he wants to go, and 3rd and 4th might be,
But hey,
realistic.
More than you
feel something. Yeah, I mean, Russell Wilson was a 3rd round pick, right? I mean, like, there's still quarterbacks that you can get, or there's still decent players you can get on there. But like, I saw something on social media that was like aggregated by like the DraftKings Twitter page, and it was somebody else saying like, let's just make the trade to the Raiders and trade Tomlin to the Raiders for the 1st overall pick and hire Kirk Cignetti and then draft Mendoza, and then Steelers are fixed. Would the Steelers be fixed? Maybe, but like, you're not trading Tomlin for the number 1 overall pick. Like that's just bizarre. Right. Let's get that out of the way now. Overall, dude, this is the first potential season in 2026. They'll have a losing year if they decide to go this route. Will that change? Will that happen in 2026? Will they have a losing year for the first time since 2003?
Hey, quick timeout. If you haven't already, hit subscribe down below. We're live literally every morning during the week talking about the biggest stories in sports. So you hitting subscribe is completely free and helps us out more than you know. It's a win-win all around. All right, back to the clip. I can't answer whether or not it'll happen, but I think the Steelers fans have to be okay with that. I mean, looking at, this is the comparison I drew yesterday, and I'm going to stick by it because I think that it's actually a really valid one. The 49ers versus the Steelers. And I'm not saying that they're similar. I'm actually saying they're quite different. Since Kyle Shanahan took over with the 49ers in like 2017 here, the 49ers went 6-10 negative, 4-12 negative, 13-3, and they lost in the Super Bowl. Then 6-10 negative. Then they were 10-7, 13-4, 12-5, in which they lost the conference championship, lost the Super Bowl. Then they went to 6-11 negative, and this year 12-5, and we'll talk about them just upcoming here in a few segments. That's very up and down. That is all over the place. You're in the Super Bowl, then you finish last in the division, and then you're in the conference championship back-to-back seasons. You go to the Super Bowl, and then you finish last in the division. You're up and down like this. For Steelers fans, I imagine some of them understand being stuck at pick 15 year after year after year after year just really doesn't get you anywhere. It might for some, if you end up with a crazy pick there, somebody who really slides or drastically outperforms their expectations. But for the most part, Picking the middle of the pack every single year gets you just that middle of the pack finishes. And so, the 49ers have more playoff wins than the Steelers do. And that's why I'd bring up this comparison or Mike Tomlin and Kyle Shanahan's a comparison. Mike Tomlin has less playoff wins than Kyle Shanahan does. And Kyle Shanahan's only been doing this for 7 years or 8 years now. So just worth keeping in mind. It's not the end of the world if you have a losing season. And I understand what you're saying, what your argument is. Like, this is not what Steelers fans are used to, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's time to get used to it. Maybe you have to understand that you can't literally win 15 games every single year. There have to be some years where you don't play very well. And guess what that leads to? Draft capital, draft at least position where you can move around, get some other value, or bring in a very valuable player. I just wanted to bring up the fact that I don't know whether or not they're going to be a winning team next year. I assume that they'll at least be in the mix because it's the AFC North. And like you mentioned, 3 new head coaches next season. But keep in mind, too, that I think losing is totally fine. I really don't think that that's something you have to be too stressed out about if you're a Steelers fan. It's going to suck, but it's okay.
Yeah, and speaking of being the 15th overall pick, and you think being in the middle of the pack is worse, the Steelers, even though they're going to be mediocre, they lost in the wild card round, they lost their 7th straight playoff game. 21st overall pick is what they have in the NFL draft in April, so it's even worse than you expected. I think the best case scenario, like if I'm talking to you today on January 14th about the NFL draft, without any other changes happening to the Steelers, I'm trading away that pick. I'm almost doing what the Rams did for a while, trading away their first round picks. Maybe I'm not doing that every single year, but I'm trying to double up for next year because at pick 21, unless you believe Ty Simpson is the guy who can save your franchise, which as much as I respect Ty Simpson for not saying he's not going to take NIL, he wants to go to the NFL. I thought that was really cool. I don't know how much more of an improvement Ty Simpson is to Mason Rudolph or Will Howard currently, at least in the landscape of what the Steelers look like right this instant. Maybe Ty Simpson has more upside, but I don't know if that changes. Does that move the needle for you in year one? No. So maybe you focus on other pieces. You build depth in the second round moving forward. You get 2 first-round picks in 2027. You use those to trade up and get your quarterback of the future, and you get one Band-Aid. Maybe that's Mason Rudolph. Maybe that is Will Howard for 2026. And then in 2027, you go all out and you're ready to roll again. I think that is the right route. I'm just really curious to see if Pittsburgh actually takes that one.
To me, it feels like this is probably way off, but to me, it feels like you just got out of a long-term relationship. Even if the next best, the next girl you talk to is literally the best possible option, it just feels too fast to me. And I understand that might just be like a bad analogy, but it feels like if Pittsburgh just jumps into Ty Simpson here, even if he ends up being the next Tom Brady, it just feels like rushed and out of place. So I'm not saying that Ty Simpson isn't the guy, but maybe the Steelers need to have some alone time. Maybe they need to focus on themselves a little bit here and start to, kind of look internal. I don't know. It's not the best analogy, but you understand what I'm kind of getting at.
Since Roethlisberger's retired, they band-aided that quarterback position. That has been something that has happened over and over again since Roethlisberger's gone. What's one more year while they're making a huge transition with their franchise and then go get your franchise guy? Yeah. What's one more year of that? I think Steelers fans can at least eat that one up. I think they can. I think they can swallow that.
I would think so. I mean, I don't know though. I don't know a lot of Steelers fans personally, so maybe not.
They're crazy. I'll tell you what. They're crazy. I love them. The Steeler fans that I know are crazy, and I love them. But man, some of them don't know what it feels like to lose, and that could be a bitter taste if a first year.
The question is this. Let me ask you this, because we keep asking this.
Yeah.
If the next head coach of the Steelers doesn't win, let's say he doesn't have a winning season in the first 3 years, are Steelers fans calling for his head? Is this a hot seat situation right away?
We've talked about the Steelers with having head coaches for a very long time. 3 coaches since 1969. You have to assume that if they see progression going in the right direction, whether that is 3 losing seasons in a row, that guy's going to have a long leash. I assume that whoever's hired by the Steelers is a younger coach. Both Bill Cowher, both Mike Tomlin, I believe, were 34 when they were hired. And then the NFL is only going younger. We're seeing certain coaches in their early 30s getting interviews. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they are going to make a hire, assuming that that guy is going to be around for the next 15 seasons.
What if they snag Matt Campbell from Penn State? I don't think his buyout is too crazy.
Yeah,
That would be
he's
the
too old.
wildest
He's
twist of
too old for the
events there.
Steelers.
He's
That's
too old.
hilarious. He's closer now, but he's
He's right
46. I
there.
feel like he's 46 years old. I feel like he's at least 10 years too old for what they're trying to get. That's whatever.
So,
Yeah.
so you're saying that effectively, I am more likely to be the next head coach of the Steelers than Matt Campbell
Well, I mean,
because I'm
no.
younger. I'm younger than Matt
Age
Campbell,
is not
right?
the only thing I'm going after, but
Oh.
if you want to go that route, if that makes you feel better, if that helps you sleep at night, knowing that you
mean,
are a
I
prime
know-
candidate for the Steelers.
I know how to call a spread Y2 banana. All right, like I can get out there and really analyze some offense. So I feel like at least put my name in the hat.
Well, just don't Google whatever you just said. I think you'll be okay.
Hey, just wanted to thank you for watching the entire video. If you haven't already, consider hitting subscribe down below. It helps the channel grow and helps us bring better content to you guys every single day. We're live literally every Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 Eastern talking about the biggest stories in sports. So if you haven't dropped by, you really should. We love interacting with chatters, hearing your guys' opinions. You could easily become a part of the show. So hit subscribe and tell a friend. I'll see you in the morning.